On this episode of Left Off the Map, Tasmanian and Australian cricketer George Bailey and I embark on a bakery tour of northern Tasmania as we try to find the best sausage roll. Then in the kitchen, I will make my favourite pork and fennel sausage rolls. But to start the episode, we're at Talia Haven on the east coast of Tasmania, making roast tomato oil.
It's always the back end of summer, about March here in Australia, that you get your hands on bumper crops of tomatoes or leftover tomatoes. But if it is any other time of the year and you're finding that your tomatoes are don't have that tomato flavour that we all crave, there is a way you can get around that. I'm going to show you how to make a roast tomato essence. So I've got an assortment of tomatoes here, about 1 kilo of different tomatoes. It does not matter what kind they are. We've got cherry tomatoes, we've got truss tomatoes, grape tomatoes, whatever tomatoes you can get your hands on, whatever ones are sort of you've had in your fridge and they're getting to that point where you think, I really need to do something with these or they're going to go off. I'm going to throw them all into a pan and roast them. And if you are thinking, what a fantastic place to cook, this is my second time in my whole entire life that I've cooked on a bath, and both have been here in Tasmania. One here on the east coast at Talia Haven, which is the accommodation where we're staying. The other one was up on the northwest coast. So I'll start with my big truss tomatoes, and I actually don't mind if I leave the truss on. So much of the flavour of a tomato comes from the truss, so when you smell a tomato, it's normally that green truss that you're smelling. So I'll pop those into my roasting pan. Just going to work my way through my tomatoes. Just roughly chopping them, just opening them up and allowing the air to be able to get to the tomato to start that roasting process. Imagine how nice it would be out here on a day like this, just soaking in this bath. But normally, the wrong time of year when you're trying to get tomatoes is because you haven't had enough of the sun, and the sun develops that flavour in the tomato. So this is a good way of taking what is in the tomato and increasing that flavour by roasting it, driving out all the moisture, which increases flavour. And also it gives us some of those caramelly Maillard flavours that we're after when we roast things. Same with our cherry tomatoes, just chop them in half, pop them in. And then I've got some shallots, Spanish onion, and a chilli, and a head of garlic. So my garlic I'll just chop through the middle. Let's pop that head in. A shallot, chop in half. Now if you've got these that's a reasonable size purple shallot. I'm going to quarter that. Pop that in, skins on, as you can see, lots of flavour in the skins, so I don't mind leaving them on. Same with this one, I'll quarter this. Chop it a few extra times. Put that in. A tomato there. Work my way through. Got a couple of shallots left to do. Then a chilli, which I'll just thinly slice, and a Spanish onion, which I'll thinly slice. A good drizzle of olive oil, a good amount of good quality sea salt from right here on the east coast of Tassie. And then into our oven at about 160 degrees for about 45 minutes. Thin slices of onion. Now because, as I said, I'm keeping the skins on, because there's a little bit of different and extra flavour in the skin, and I'm going to strain this all at the end, so it doesn't really matter if those skins are on. Give that all a mix. A really good lug, good quality oil. The oil is going to make up a lot of this essence that we've got left over, so a good amount of oil. One thing I will do on my way inside to the oven, I might just grab a lemon the juice of a lemon in there as well. And a good amount of salt to start drawing out those juices. I'll crack some pepper in there. I'll put it in the oven as well. Off we go. This is what we wake up to every day, which isn't too bad. Beautiful big bay windows both here and here. So this is the main building here at Talia. Down here is the kitchen. I love this kitchen. As you can see, we're getting ready for our next recipe. Kelly's reading is that my recipe book, Kelly? There's Donna Hayes' recipe book. Kelly's reading Donna Hayes' recipe book instead of my recipe book. And there's one of mine right there. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that. All right, so in we go. Oh, I wanted to put a little bit of cracked pepper and some lemon in on that, didn't I? The cracked pepper. You got any more lemons, Kelly? Thank you. And just the juice of half a lemon. What are we going to cook next, Kelly? Chicken in red wine. Oh, chicken in white wine. Just means chicken in wine, really. So it's up to you, whatever your favourite is. All right, so that's good, ready to go. The smell that's coming off that already is absolutely fantastic. So it's basically what would go on a bruschetta, but we're going to roast it down to end up with that bruschetta stock, or it's just a finishing sauce, or a vinaigrette chicken, that's like KitchenAid, or a vinaigrette aiding sauce. That's what I was trying to say. All right, in we go. So we'll let that roast in there for about 45 minutes, let it collapse, let all of the flavours intensify, then take it out, put it into one of these, just a little colander. Push it into there, put a bowl underneath it, and then just let time and gravity do its thing, and we'll collect at the bottom all of that awesome syrup.
Now let's join Australian cricketer and selector George Bailey for a sausage roll road trip.
George has told me he wants me to pick him up in Longford, which is his old hometown. This is where he grew up till he was about 16, and then headed off to see the bright lights of the big world. Here he is. What do you reckon?
That's outrageous.
That'll do.
Is this yours?
This is mine. So I've had this since I was 16.
First car?
First car, well, yeah, kind of. Me and my old man got it when we were, I was still in college. And we got this as a little project to do together before I headed off to uni. We spent a year working on it together, and he's just kept ticking along, changing things as he needs to change things, and I get to drive it every now and then.
That looks flash, I like it. It'll get us where we need to go?
It'll get us where we need to go. We've got a nice day planned. I'll fill you in once we sort of get on the road.
Yeah.
But what are we doing here?
Well, I heard you needed a bakery.
Yeah, we do.
Since we're in Longford, there is no better bakery than the famous JJ's Bakery.
I've heard a lot about JJ's.
The original JJ, which was Judy Johnson,
yeah.
Her father used to change irrigators on our property and grow a few vegetables. Famous for, he used to make the relish here that could go with the sausage roll, if you're a relish man.
Oh, yeah. That's part of our scoring system for the sausage rolls.
Yeah, righto.
Is the sauce and how good it is.
I'm looking forward to hearing this scoring system, so we're going to go and
let's
have
get
a
in
crack
there.
at one.
Man, it's a busy bakery.
Fresh bread on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
always enjoyed a JJ's sausage
Smells
roll.
good. So let's get stuck in.
Beautiful, righto. There's a bit of pressure on the first sausage roll.
Yeah, this is it. This sets up. Everything will be rated off the back of this one. So pastry, what are you giving out of 5?
The pastry was good, and there was a couple of minutes between grabbing our sausage roll and eating it. I would have liked mine a little flakier.
Yep.
We're going to have to go halves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a 3.5.
Yeah, I reckon we're going to be bang on all across the board here. Sauce for me, I didn't have to pay for it, which is, I think, a big one. I think if you're buying a sausage roll, sauce should just be included in the cost. I'm going 4 for sauce for me. But I've recently thought if someone makes a homemade sauce and they give that to you, then I'm allowing a 6 for that. So we're going over. It's like 6 stars hotels are rare.
Yeah.
I reckon that's rare. That someone's going to go out of the way to make a sauce and then give it to you for free.
Yeah.
That's rare. And then the last one is nostalgia. Now this is your hometown.
It is, so there's certainly a little bit of bias here, but it would have been my first sausage roll. My grandmother lived in Longford right up until her death, so that was always an easy place to take her down for a coffee and a sausage roll as well. So I've had plenty of them there. There has to be a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm going to go 4 for me. It had the smells of sausage roll, it had the look, did it have carrot in it back then when you were... Has it always been a mainstay in the JJ sausage roll?
I can't recall. Certainly, it's never something that I was looking for.
You've never noticed
No,
it?
I haven't.
Have you been to the new Clover Hill site?
I haven't.
The Clover Hill,
It's only recently been.
very recently, yeah, I opened it for them 3 months ago. We had a dinner there, would have been April, I think. So a brand new building. It'll win architectural awards.
Yeah, right.
And obviously the wine has won plenty of awards. It's the highest selling and most awarded sparkling wine in the country. The Gollet Wine family are the family that own it. So the Gollet Wine family have got a vineyard here in Tassie. They've got a vineyard in the Pyrenees in Victoria. They have a vineyard in the Napa Valley in California. And they've got a vineyard in Languedoc region of France. So they basically go to areas that are specifically known, or the best areas for growing a particular varietal. They buy a vineyard there and just do that varietal.
Yeah, right.
It's a great sparkling climate, so they just do sparkling here. If the Queen's ever in Australia, this is the wine she drinks. And Princess Mary had it at her wedding. That's Clover Hill, mate. Our first time there. What did you think?
Very impressed. I'd say that new building's magnificent.
It has the credibility just for the wine, but then you add that location on top of it and that build on top of it. It's going to take it to another level.
Now back to the kitchen for homemade sausage rolls. That was a lot of fun marking different sausage rolls. I'm going to make my version of my favourite sausage roll, which is pork and fennel. I've got half a bulb of fennel here. It's quite a large bulb, so I've halved it. And then I've got some small onions. If you're using a big onion, you probably need 1, but I've got 2 small ones. So just want to dice both the onion and the fennel and then put it in the pan and cook it until it's sort of translucent. And we're going to use that par-cooked onion and fennel in our pork mix. garlic, onion and fennel is now softened and par cooked. I'm just going to leave that to cool there, and I can start mixing up my pork belly mince. The reason why you want to use pork belly is so that you've got a good amount of fat so that the sausage rolls stay nice and moist. The worst thing, and you do this a lot when you make chicken sausage rolls, it's important that you use the thigh with chicken sausage rolls. If you use the breast, you'll end up with a really dry sausage roll. Minces on, we've got the larger holes. Put some of our pork in. Now we have to make a decision on whether or not we want to keep it coarse like that or put it through again with the smaller holes. I think that's probably enough. So we need a good pinch of salt. Remember, the salt will be our binder. It will start to break down the proteins in the pork. Those proteins will start to link together, and that's what will bind everything. So we'll give this a little massage to start with, and then we'll add in our fennel, onion and garlic mix. All my mixture's done now. I need to add some breadcrumbs. So I'll add probably half a cup to start with. Mix that in. So it's a fine line between leaving enough moisture in the meat so the sausage roll itself stays moist, and then making sure that you don't drop enough moisture that the pastry goes soggy. So it is a bit of a fine line. We get the pastry out, and then I've got an expert sausage roll roller coming in to show us how to roll sausage rolls perfectly. So once I get this pastry out, we'll get him to come up and show us how to roll sausage rolls. All right, so we've cut our pastry in half to give us an easier piece of pastry to work with. And we'll get Alex in, and he can talk us through rolling. Now, you used to roll a lot of sausage rolls at the bakery before you got on camera.
Yeah, I did a few.
Thought you would have had a piping bag, I imagine, when you were doing hundreds of them.
Yeah, it was big, huge.
And pipe it along.
Yep.
We're not going to worry about the piping bag, but talk us through the basics.
Really, you want a 3 centimetre line of the sausage meat along here, wetting this side of the pastry, and then folding over and tucking, running your thumbs along, pushing any air bubbles out, and then rolling the whole thing over so it sinks.
Right. All right, let's give it a go. And do you fill it all the way to the edge?
Yep.
Yep. So a
Because
little bit more.
once they're cooked on a large scale, you would then trim the edges, make everything nice and uniform.
Yep.
So, pastry brush, dipping it into the water, and then just wetting this side of the pastry. And what you want to do, it's got plastic on there, is just roll this over. So, it's been about 4 years since I've made a sausage roll. And then once it's all tucked under, it's just a matter of folding over.
Now, do you cook them in as a long roll like that, or do you cut them up and then...
Yeah, you cut them up first.
Right.
So you let it sit. Some of that moisture off the top. But you can probably just run maybe a serrated knife through it,
Yep.
and it'll be fine.
You just want that seam to sit underneath.
And then also, if you do a light score along the top, it'll stop the pastry from cracking when you cook it.
Okay.
And if you just throw a little bit of water on top of the tray in the oven, it will steam and keep the pastry moist as it cooks.
Ah, excellent. Back to your camera. So we'll cut these up. Once the sausage rolls were rolled, they went into the oven 180 degrees for about 45 minutes. So they're nice and golden. And they're very, very close now. So I'll just do a quick check. So they can come out. Just check to make sure that they're all nice and crispy. There's probably a couple there that could go a little bit longer. So I might just turn them around and pop them in for another 5 minutes. So like I said, it was 180 degrees for that's about 45 minutes. So it'll be about 50 minutes all up. Once they come out, you want to serve them with whatever your favourite sauce is. Now, a lot of people like barbecue sauce, especially with pork and fennel sausage rolls, but I love ketchup, so I'm going to go with ketchup for mine. I think it's more nostalgia. I grew up eating sausage rolls with tomato sauce, so for me, it's going back to that time when I was a young kid who used to eat sausage rolls at different birthday parties or get them on the weekend. That taste really reminds me of being a kid, so I'm going to go with ketchup.